Chicana, I have often felt like I do not belong in either of my cultures. I am not Mexican enough for Mexicans and not American enough for Americans. Like Chicanos like to say, soy ni de aquí ni de allá. My parents immigrated to the U.S. shortly after getting married. They were both in their early 20s and strongly wanted to provide their children with better opportunities than those available in Mexico. My parents raised my sisters and me to be proudly Mexican, signing us up for folklorico dance groups, constantly reminding us that we must be proud of our culture and to share it with others. As a child, being a proud Mexican was easy, however, it has increasingly gotten harder. In these current political times, when anti-immigrant of color sentiments have become more prominent, I've experienced a multitude of discrimination. People have preconceived notions of Mexicans and will judge all of us based on these notions. We are seen as a homogeneous community. There are no differences between Mexicans. One of the Mexican characteristics that is constantly mocked are our accents. The way some words are pronounced differently or the difficultness of some words is seen as a joke. These struggles are humorous, as they do not affect many. Yet for the members of the in-group or Mexicans, this constant struggle can be humiliating and hurtful. When I was in the 5th grade, I was made aware of the fact that I have an accent. I had moved to a new school, and since the moment I first stepped into that room, the teacher never let me forget that I was a minority. She loved to comment on my accent whenever I would participate. As the comments became more common, my participation decreased. I did not want to be reminded of something that made me different, something that alienated me from my classmates. To this day, I find myself thinking about whether I can pronounce every word well before raising my hand to participate. Why are accents so difficult for others to understand? According to a study by Marko Drajovic and Howard Gills, speech produced in accents different from one's own, particularly foreign accents, is more difficult to process than speech produced in one's own accent. Since it is harder for some to understand this accented speech, they may feel some anger towards the speaker. In another study by Edward Tels and Vilma Ortiz, they found that because of the preconceived notions people have about Mexicans, they will already have a negative attitude. They state that outsiders expect Mexican Americans to be less educated and treat them accordingly. They also found that discriminatory acts are prevalent in institutional settings, like the workplace and school, places where people can be judged by their education level. A study by Carolina Hansen and John DeVodio also supports this idea, stating that pre-existing biases can predict a perceived lack of understanding, which in turn predicts a more negative response toward a non-native speaker. In the future, one of the main goals in the Mexican community should be to bring awareness to the subject, as well as any other events that cause harm. By making non-Mexicans aware that these remarks are offensive, the community can reduce the normalization, and thus reduce the number of comments made. Ultimately, by raising awareness to this issue, by sharing my story, I hope to inspire others to do the same with any experience they may have.